Hello and welcome back to RamsTalkPodcast. We are here today after Derby County win their first game this season away at West Brom. It's becoming quite a happy hunting ground for the Rams. Feels like we've not lost there in forever. And we were kindly reminded by West Brom that Steve Bloomer scored there 125 years ago as well. So it's been quite the weekend for the Rams. And joining me to talk all about it is firstly Mr. Callum Boocock. How are you, Cal?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Derby are off the board with 3 points. It's going to be a good night to talk about it because it's been a long time coming.
It has, and I'm particularly excited, Callum, because you've got a 5-minute presentation about birds of prey found in and around the West Midlands, which I'm particularly looking forward to later. So yeah, I hope you've done some good research.
I have. I've got my David Attenborough notes ready.
We're also joined by a currently muted Amelia Warren as well, but she knows where the mute button is. How are you doing?
The chaos going on in the background. Sorry, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, very good. All the better for yesterday. Obviously, it's so good to finally get off the board, and I think a few people on social media have started saying that this is the start of John Eustace's Derby County, and I think we did see that yesterday. But we've got to talk about the team news. Cal, obviously one change. Brewster has picked up a minor knock. We've heard minor knocks before that have turned into major knocks, but he wasn't in the team, and we started with Brereton Diaz. Were you surprised to see Brereton Diaz get the nod ahead of other options, with him obviously being in the building just a couple of days really and having the international duty?
Yeah, look, I think the only thing that was going to work in his favour that he was match fit. He obviously played in the week for Chile and got a number of minutes. I think from our perspective, we were just unsure as whether he was jet lagged, whether he was had any training session and training minutes with the team. I think Eustace alluded to it that they delayed training on that Thursday on the press conference day, so he can at least get some minutes to actually play with the lads. So yeah, it was very surprising to see him start. I thought I'd see him on the bench. I thought maybe like a Weimann, or when the news about Brewster started to circulate amongst social media pre-kickoff, which is kind of interesting. With obviously, I think Eustace was asked about it post-game, wasn't he, about the sources and stuff. And it's just, unfortunately, it's 2025. The news is hard to be kept in-house. But yeah, I think maybe, Aiman maybe. But I think I wasn't surprised to see an alternative option in Brereton Diaz making his debut.
And the other big thing that obviously was on that team sheet, Amelia, was the change of captain. Travis obviously getting the captaincy armband. A surprise for you?
I think it was inevitable that it was going to happen at some point, but I probably didn't expect that it was going to be as soon as yesterday. But clearly that's something that's been spoken about. It won't have just been decided like an hour before kickoff that Travis was going to get the armband. It will have been decided before the international break. I think Ebro Adams would have known in advance, and from what it sounded like after the game in John Eustace's post-match, that Ebro Adams was fine with it as well. So I think it's one of them things. I think we've got quite a fortunate position to be in where we've got two really good leaders in the middle of the park now, and I'm going to see it as a positive thing. I think you could give either of them the armband and either of them would do a brilliant job. But obviously with Lewis Travis being John Eustace's man previously at Blackburn, it doesn't really come of too much of a shock that he wants him to be his main man now as well.
Cal, how important is a captain? I say that obviously a captain is important, but some fans will say, I don't really care, you should have 11 leaders out there. Other fans will say it's very important. I mean, Travis, when he came in, he looks like he was that kind of player. He was that leader. Obviously, he captained Blackburn under Eustace. So it feels like a no-brainer. But is there importance on somebody that's wearing a band, in your opinion?
I think so. I think what you need is someone. You either have a captain who leads by example, which is for me an Ebro Adams, or you have a captain who commands by voice and obviously has the rapport with his teammates. And has the rapport to be able to, if they're not putting in a certain shift or haven't done something that the team have worked on, to obviously have the go at them, but in the right way, in a constructive way that gets the best out of them. And Travis seems to have the clear respect of the team. He obviously has the respect of the manager, that he's been able to make such a big decision only game 2 into his Derby County career. I think there's a few people in the chat tonight that he does bark at people, and I think it's a way that you want to see from a Derby County captain. We haven't seen a captain for Derby actually berate players when they're not doing their job for a long, long time. Curtis Davies kind of did it, but I think in his aspect, he was such a nice bloke off the pitch. You couldn't really have him as that kind of like warrior type to be able to galvanise a team. And I think that my favourite position for a captain is central midfield. You're kind of in and around the play, but also in and around the referee, because that's where the referee's mostly in and around that central area. And Travis is constantly talking to the referee, which is only bettering us. Sometimes it's a little bit too much, but I think having someone who is questioning decisions, asking some just on behalf of Derby County is only going to better us.
Yeah, for sure. And just looking at YouTube, Jim Johnson says, I think making Travis captain is a good move. Feel for Adams, but you can see the difference in the continued chat on the field from Travis. Martin says, Travis ace, a better Robbie Savage. Yeah, he's definitely got the wind-up tactics of Robbie Savage. Eustace Enthusiast says, Travis barks at people. That's what you mentioned there, Cal, which is what you need from a captain, whereas Abu was a captain due to his performances. Richard also says, expected Travis to become the captain, but not this quickly. He's the most vocal I've seen a captain in years, to be fair. And I think, Amelia, we can see why Eustace wanted him, can't we? He just is that nuisance in the middle. He's that voice. And he's also probably technically better than I thought he was going to be as well. What's your thoughts on new signing Travis?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think the leadership qualities we've got in him are amazing, but also aside from that, he's actually a really tidy footballer. I think he seems to possess some real championship quality, which it's quite fresh to see that, because it's not something that we've had in our squad consistently for a long time. And I think Ibu Adams is a brilliant player to have in your side. The jobs that he does, the role that he plays, the passion he has, brilliant. But I think at times his technical side does let him down a little bit. And to be able to have somebody aside him now in Travis who can kind of lift that up a little bit, and he's got the technical bit about him, it kind of relieves the pressure on Ibu Adams a little bit and allows him to do his job, where he's not kind of thinking, oh, I've got to make sure that every pass is spot on, I've got to make sure that everything's right, because Travis will kind of pick them pieces up for him as well. So I think he's really a benefit to this team. I think he could be one of our better signings of the summer, because I think the job that he's going to come in and do, particularly alongside taking the armband as well, I think it could be that he ends up being our signing of the summer, and probably not the one that people would have thought on paper, but I think it could end up being that he's the main man. And yeah, it's really good that now we've got that kind of option in the midfield as well, where we kind of just had before the option of Ibu Adams and nobody, and at times we had to put Thompson in there, and he did a really good job when he came in. But now we've got all these options where we can play players that might need a rest. We've got the options to take players out, put players in. So it's quite rare and quite unique to have so many options as a Derby fan. I don't think it's something that we're used to, but it feels good, and it feels good to know that we've got a bit of depth for once as well.
Yeah, Callum, we saw that yesterday, didn't we? Brewster's out, Brereton Diaz in. When 60 minutes hit, 65 minutes, it's then Aiman for Brereton Diaz. The depth that we've got now, and we've obviously got a couple of players to come back, it just feels that you're not looking over your shoulder as a manager and going, well, what do I do here? Actually, it's probably the opposite now. Eustace is probably looking over his shoulder and thinking, well, I've got probably 2 or 3 players that I can throw on in this situation. Yeah,
I mean, look, how many times on this podcast last year was it painful on a Sunday to talk about the 60th, 70th minute mark when we're bringing on players who just aren't what the quality of player that we've got now. And the trouble is that that's when we lost a lot of games, when we we're getting to the dire ends of the game, and we need to either hang on or get into a game if we're struggling to get into it. And there was just no impact, or there was a clear depreciation of what was on the pitch currently. What we've got now is, like you said, a plethora of options up front, in defence, in midfield, that Eustace can turn around and go, right, something's not quite working, or we need to swap formation, or we need to give someone a breather, as simple as it sounds. And we've got either someone who's even better, or in some aspects equal to that can obviously make that immediate impact and just carry it on. And we saw that when Weimann and Aiman have linked up and won the game. And like you said, they've come off the bench and thrown their bodies, obviously in Aiman's case, and caused chaos. And we've got one shot on target, one goal, and won the game. So I think that's what we need to be able to do in this season, because I think the squad last season struggled in that aspect, and I think that was one thing that we kind of talked about plenty of times on this podcast, and obviously on social media. It was kind of something that we always were harping on about. So it's glad to see that the club have decided to obviously fix that.
Let's talk about the first half, Amelia. Not too much to really talk about positively. Obviously, Brereton Diaz having that header that went quite a bit wide, to be quite honest. It wasn't really a chance, but we were on the back foot. But I think we looked pretty good shape-wise. I think we were obviously trying to contain them. We were letting them have the ball where it wasn't going to hurt us, and we were actually defending quite well. What was your view on that first half?
Yeah, I think it was pretty attritional, but I think that's what it needed to be, and I think that's the way we set up to be. I don't think we set up to kind of go all guns blazing and leave ourselves wide open. I think the idea was that we were going to let them have the ball and sit in a little bit and kind of ride out the storm, and we went with the game plan, and I think that game plan was to come away and win 1-0, and that's what happened. The first half wasn't entertaining to watch, but the job that needed to be done was done, and that was to make sure that we didn't concede. And I think all credit goes to that back line, to be honest, because the way they did put their bodies on the line, the way they defended, the way they stayed switched on. I think in a game like that, when you're constantly having to defend, it can be easy to have one lapse of concentration where you allow the other team to get in on you and you do concede. But they stayed switched on all game. The partnership of Clark and Dion Sanderson, got to give him his credit, because when I think he came in and played his first couple of games, we were all a little bit unsure. He probably didn't look quite ready yet. He probably didn't know everyone so well. He hadn't really bedded in. But now he's had a few games, he looks like a completely different player, and he had an exceptional game yesterday, constantly putting his body on the line. He was up there for me as a contender for man of the match, and I think that's another example of a John Eustace player, and John Eustace getting the best out of a John Eustace player. So yeah, really impressed defensively. As much as it wasn't the most entertaining game to watch, at the end of the day, the job got done. So that's the most important thing.
Yeah, we don't always remember the performance, do we? We normally just remember the result and the dead bird. I think that's the only thing that we'll take from this game. But yeah, you obviously mentioned there the defensive performances, and I think you're exactly right. Clark and Sanderson were fantastic yesterday. I think a lot of fans are probably eating some of their words with regards
humble
to
pie, yeah.
Sanderson. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm one. I generally thought,
And
especially
me.
in
And me.
yeah. Look, this is an open forum. Do you want to admit you were wrong, Amelia, or were you right?
No, I would give you both. I wasn't too convinced after the first couple of games, but give him his credit now for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I think we looked really, really good. And like you said there, it just felt like every time that they got within range, there was somebody willing to throw their body on the line. And obviously Clark came away with the man of the match, probably deserved, but you probably could have given it to a few of them and that back line. In terms of Matt Clark, Cal, I mean, we just keep talking about him as this solid defender, and it's always a 7, 8, or maybe like yesterday, a 9 out of 10. And I think that's a signing that's gone massively under the radar as well. I think it's a terrific piece of business. I think he helped keep us up last year. And I think he's actually getting better. I think he's getting better in this Derby team. What did you think of him yesterday?
Oh, he was absolutely outstanding. I think when you like you said, the players that have come in this year, everyone looks at the players who have come in for either big money moves or kind of obviously fresh faced, and we don't know much about them and are new to the squad, because we kind of assigned him on a free to a longer term deal that he was waiting on, obviously depending on where we were in terms of league stature. I think he could be the signing of the summer for me, because I think he just is formidable at the back. He gets his head on everything. I think he won every single header that he was contested with yesterday. I think we always looked at Nat Phillips, who is now obviously full enough was on the opposition team yesterday, kind of what he did last year alongside Clark and Langas and stuff. And look, credit to West Brom obviously for picking him up, and I thought he was good on their side. But I think Matt Clark, for our business, and probably obviously people have banded around the wage demands that from both sides. I think we've probably got the better side of the deal, in my opinion. And I think when you look at what Clark can bring, left-sided, left-footed centre half, especially which are hard to come by, I think, especially for the price that you find them. He could be absolutely outstanding this year and could be up there for player of the season come May.
And Amelia, looking at that first half, obviously they had a lot of the ball, didn't they? And what I wanted to do before the episode tonight was have a look at possession stats for the 3 away games this season.
God.
And it's quite strange, because West Brom had 68% of the possession, Ipswich had 69% possession, and Stoke had 68% possession. So we're obviously away from home saying you have the ball, and when we've got it, we'll try and catch you on the break or do something when we've got it. But I'm thinking in terms of those teams, I mean, Stoke probably were a bit of an unknown quantity at the start of the season. They've turned into prime Barcelona, but they are good sides, aren't they? So it's a case of, I guess, is it a case of against those teams we're going to say you can have the ball, or do you think it's a case of if we were going up and maybe going up against a team that were struggling, were on poor form, that we try and control the possession and try and kind of take the game to someone away from home?
I think it does depend on the opposition. And I think, to be fair, our start to the season's probably been one of the toughest in the division compared to a lot of other clubs. You know, if you look at the position of where the teams we've played are now, and you've got, I think, is it like 4 of them are in the top 6? So I think when we go away to teams like that, it will be kind of sit in, let them have the ball, hit them on the break. And then there's the opportunity when we're playing teams that are probably more in and around us or lower table, that we might look to go, actually, we're going to try and punish them from the off and we're going to get at them. But I think you just have to be quite savvy and clever with it. And I think if you're going to go to Ipswich away or Stoke away or West Brom away and go at it from minute 1, you're leaving yourself very exposed to some very quality players that can hurt you. And I think if we'd have left ourselves exposed yesterday, the likes of Mikey Johnston on the wing, I don't think we'd have lasted 5 minutes without conceding a goal. So I think we had to be clever and we had to be a bit resolute, and it was never going to be the most thrilling performance and the most attractive performance, but it needed to be solid, and that's what it was. And I think at times we are going to have to be a bit like that. We are going to have to be solid and maybe a little bit boring, but be able to just hurt teams on the break or get our chance and take it, which we did. But I think there will be times this season where we do go away from home and it's a little bit of a different setup and we go a bit more kind of all-out attack from the get-go, and we are able to hurt teams that way. It just depends on the opposition.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that theme kind of continues. And I guess in terms of home games, we seem to have a bit more possession. So that suggests that actually when teams come to us, we actually want to get our foot on the ball and have that possession. There's a couple of ongoing chats going on YouTube about Bobby Clark. Callum, probably wasn't really his game yesterday, was it? I mean, some nice touches, some nice pieces of skill, but just didn't really kind of get going. And probably the same for Brereton Diaz as well.
Yeah, look, I've put it in the chat this morning about when I rewatched the game. So unfortunately, I was working, so I couldn't get to the game. But I think when you look at what he offered, it was work rate, it was off the ball work in terms of defensive positions, and him and Diaz struggled to get on the ball and create things offensively, but I think defensively, they're, like I said, just were in their set position. You could tell that they'd worked on their defensive structure throughout the week and kind of frustrated West Brom to really little chances. In small pockets, he won the ball and won some fouls. I think when his sort of game will be when we're more on the ball, having more of the possession, maybe at home, he'll be a bit more effective. I think you can see he wants to drift inside into that 10 position. I think we've got 3 or 4 players who like to do that now. So I think it'll be interesting to see what Eustace does with his number 9s, what he does with Brereton Diaz, your Weimanns, your Clarks, Brewster when he's fit, who he kind of slots in there. I think Clark is a player that will develop over the season. And I think Brereton Diaz the same. I think he just needs confidence. I think that 3 or 4 of them are confidence players. The good thing is Clark's off the boards with his goal at Burnley. So he should, and also with Brewster obviously now out for a couple of weeks, he might see a bit more game time.
It's exactly that, and it is confidence, isn't it? And I think we've signed players with a point to prove. We've signed players that need to recover that form, and Ben Brereton Diaz is definitely that player. Is obviously that clip that went around when he was on international duty. He missed a bit of a sitter, and Southampton fans were not particularly pleasant when he's obviously moved on. So I guess it's a case of getting him up and running, getting him back to that form that took him into that Chile squad. And there was a time when he was being linked with some big clubs for big amounts of money. So, I mean, how confident are you, Amelia, that Eustace can get the best out of him?
Pretty confident, to be honest, because I think when you look at what John Eustace has done for the rest of the players he's brought in who have been a bit low on confidence, or even when he's come through the door to players that were already at the club and what he's been able to do for them and boost their confidence and change their performances as well. I think I am pretty confident with Brereton Diaz, and I feel that he's a player that's played at a really high level. We've not signed a guy here who's completely unproven and has never done well anywhere he's gone. He has been a really good player throughout his career. He's had some really good moments. So I think once he gets a goal and once he beds in a little bit more and we give him a bit of time, I think he'll actually do a really good job for us. And again, what an addition to the depth to have that kind of player, whether he's starting or whether you're bringing him off the bench. He's a handful, and he's going to be the kind of player that is kind of similar to Morris in a way and similar to Aiman, that player that you can bring off the bench that can go and be a nuisance up top and put his body in the way. He's a big physical character, and I think once he gets a chance, he will bury it. I think he just needs to get himself off the mark, get a bit of confidence, and everyone will be behind him.
And Callum, he's the kind of player that chances just seem to fall to. Obviously, he had that one in the first half and then had a good chance in the second half, a shot that was blocked. He always seems to be in the right place for me. So yeah. I think it's just a case of just making sure that he can hit the back of the net. And if he can do that, then I think he might go on a bit of a run.
Yeah, I mean, that strike in the second half was a cracking strike. It was goal bound, at least, on target. I think it was just a really good block. I think, like you said, he knows where he needs to go. Like I said, when he was at Blackburn and he was getting 20 plus goals, everyone said he was going to be Premier League bound. And obviously there was kind of the joke about when he changed his obviously name when he went and represented Chile and stuff. And I think, like you said, he's just had a couple of poor seasons and he's trying to get his career back on track. And I think Eustace has been able to get the best out of players. Look what he did with Harness. If he can do what he did with Harness last year, Brereton Diaz could be a great signing on loan. So we'll just have to wait and see how he develops.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one. I'm sure we'll see him next week at Pride Park. I think that game at Pride Park next week is going to be one that everyone's going to look forward to because you're seeing Travis, you're seeing Aiman, you're seeing Ben Brereton Diaz. So there's going to be a good feel in the air. We'll get onto that a little bit later and talk about predictions ahead of Preston. But let's look at that second half. I've obviously talked about the early chance. The next, I suppose, match event, Amelia, is the bird falling out of the sky. What was your view of it? Because you were there. What was the kind of the first reactions in the crowd?
Strange, to be honest. So it actually flew from the away end, so it kind of came like over the top of the away end, and it was this kind of massive
conspiracies,
strange kind of eagle-looking thing. Looked like it had been sent by a witch, and West Brom are cursed against us, so that kind of makes sense. But it flew over the centre of the pitch, and then just appeared to drop something out of its mouth, which obviously in the end appeared to be this pigeon carcass. Yeah, I don't really know. I've never seen anything like that anywhere, never mind at a football match. So I don't know what was going on, but I think everyone had the same reaction of just like, what on earth? Is this like a setup? It's like somebody sent this to happen, or is that just happened? And then, yeah, for the next 5 minutes, it was chaos while they found someone to go and on some gloves and go and pick it up and put it in a bag. I'm sure that wasn't the sort of job that anyone was jumping to go and do, but yeah, strange.
They've obviously got a plan for situations like that. But who draws the short straw in that situation? I think everyone was kind of looking around, going, "Well, yeah, we're not going to kind of do it. It's your ground." And I don't know, but yeah, the guy that actually eventually went on the pitch and removed it got a bit of a hero's welcome. So yeah, well done to that guy. Obviously, Derby aren't, I guess, strange to things being on pitches. We've had the Kenko Coffee Cup, the Pesky Slido one. I was there for that. So yeah, I'm sure that will go up on
you normally have like floodlight failures, and I mean with the animals you normally get like foxes running on the pitch or a dog or something like that. We've had beach balls.
Always seems to work in our favour. We got the coffee cup, and then Norwich, the lights went out and we ended up winning that game. Was it 4-3? We had the thing with the bird yesterday and we ended up winning that game. So we're maybe, I don't know, something weird around Derby County.
It must be.
Witch doctor.
Yeah, or it could be the change now. Obviously, we did win yesterday, but maybe that's a sign that next time we go there, we're going to lose 5-0 or something like that. But
that's the curse ending, yeah.
That's the cursed ending. But I mean, it's ridiculous, isn't it, Callum? It's a case of going there, and it just feels like we're gonna win. The form is absolutely crazy there.
Oh, it is. I mean, I laugh about it with my partner's family because they're all Baggies fans, and I think when I always say to them, "No, you're 3 points to us," because it just seems inevitable. And I think for us, it's not. We normally have bogey teams against us, and we always say, "Oh, they're a bogey team for us," and we'll struggle against them. It's nice to be a bogey team for another side. So, no matter home or away, I think they're a good team. They play good football. They just struggled to get it in the net, and we took our chance. They didn't take theirs, and that's what you need to do in football.
Yeah, they're a really tidy team. They're playing good football. They've obviously got a gaffer that's got a lot of experience in the Premier League and coming through as a professional himself. And yeah, unlucky really. You probably could say yesterday they deserved more, but you could also say that about the cup fixture as well. I think it's absolutely crazy that we had 2 shots on target in 2 games and we ended up winning both. It does feel a little bit wrong. So I think there was a West Brom fan in here a little earlier. I think there was,
so
if you're still here, look, we're not proud about it, but we'll still take the points.
Oh, I'm proud.
They're very proud.
Amelia, whether it was the luck of the carcass or Aiman coming on the pitch, obviously he came on, and we just seemed to look a bit better. It was almost like the fans were so excited about seeing the new signing, and also the players just started to kind of get ticking as well. I mean, he's a man you can't miss. He's 6 foot something. What was your first impressions of Big Pat?
Yeah, impressive. I think, to be honest, when he was warming up, the away end, the atmosphere just changed. Like, even seeing him getting stripped and ready to come on, and everyone was just so ready for it. I think, it was kind of like the more kind of banter chants of USA, USA when he got onto the pitch. And I think he loved it. I don't think you really get an atmosphere like that in the MLS. Not saying that it's no atmosphere. They do have an atmosphere, but it's completely different to playing in England. And I think him coming onto that pitch, he didn't really know what to expect himself. And you've seen him kind of laughing to himself as he ran on. And I think he really loved it. I think he loved taking his chance. And you could see that he was really hungry. Every time the ball went into the air, he wanted to win it. He was trying to turn his man. He was trying to be a handful. And it kind of gave West Brom something different to think about. When they threw him on, they didn't really know what to do with him, because when he got the ball on the floor, he was ready to be direct and run at defence. But when the ball was in the air, he was ready to win it. So I think it was a really different challenge for them, bringing him onto the pitch. And obviously we saw that when he got the opportunity in the box to do something and make an impact, he was able to flip the ball onto Weimann and we got the goal. So I think he's really chomping at the bit to be in the starting 11. And I think he's really ready to take his chance in the UK. I think he looks really ready for it. I think he's really hungry for it, and I wouldn't be surprised if going into next week we see him maybe starting ahead of Brereton Diaz, and it being the other way around, that he's the one that comes on as the substitute and Aiman's given the nod from the beginning. But it's just great to have so many options, and he's going to be again a really impressive signing, I think.
Yeah, I was really impressed, and I think people know, Callum, you know that I was a little bit critical of the money that we've obviously paid for him, of course. But I was I was really impressed. I was really impressed because, like Amelia said there, you don't really know what he's going to do, whether he's going to put it on the floor and try and dribble it past you or actually hold it up. I was really worried as well that he would give away fouls because he just doesn't. When I've seen images of him previously and videos of him previously, it feels like he doesn't necessarily know how to use his body as well as some players that we've had previously. But actually, he actually won fouls for us. So yeah, a really, really good debut. And of course, got his hair. I think it was a hair probably on that Travis cross, and found its way to Weimann. Let's talk about that now. Amazing, Travis, Aiman, and then on to Weimann. It's a summer transfer window goal. Such a good ball. It was one of those that was kind of begging to be headed in the back of the net. When I saw it kind of go in originally, I thought I'd love a Nat Phillips to be on the end of this. But then I was thinking, no, actually, I don't want him to be on the end of it because he'd clear it. But some ball by Travis and a really, really good finish by Weimann.
It was. I mean, you forgot one there. It laid back to Travis via Johnston, so it was a full quartet. I think when you look at the ball, it was a fantastic ball. Everyone talks about Travis with his tackling and stuff, but that was an absolutely fantastic ball, kind of out swinging back post. And like you said, Aiman with his, I didn't realise that. I know people said he's tall, but he is tall. And like you said, that height is, and obviously he can actually, because you see with a lot of tall, quite streamlined players, they struggle to actually get off the floor for a header. But he actually leaped and, like you said, just got his almost like small afro onto the ball and kind of planted it down for Weimann. But the thing for Weimann that I liked is the composure. He took about 8 touches to kind of find that opening. He talked about it in his post match that he purposely put it where he put it because he knew that it would be struggle to get saved because it's kind of going back across the keeper and kind of through a very narrow corridor. It's probably the only opportunity he was going to have. And what you'd like is that he's probably not going to start a lot of games this year, but and probably come off the bench. But what an impact player he could be this year, and composure he brings and experience he brings. And he said it when he joined. He wants to. He didn't feel like he had a great time here last time. He felt he could have done better, and he wants to prove that to the Derby fans. And I think what a way to do that than getting a goal and getting 3 points for us.
Yeah, he's started. He's started to definitely deliver on that kind of promise. But I have to say, listening to the episode last week, Jake was saying how Weimann would score an important goal for us, and yeah. It's one time you're right, Jake. Normally it's me that's right in these situations, but you were right on that one. Amelia, it was kind of, for me, when I saw obviously the ball come in, I wanted it to fall to Andy Weimann because you just know in those situations he's the kind of player that can do that. And you know, if that was an Aiman, possibly, if that was a Clark, if that was somebody else, they might have snatched at it. But it was really composed and a really, really good finish.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. Like, me and my brother were speaking after the game. I went with him to the game yesterday. And when we came out and we reflected on the goal, we were saying how grateful we were that it was Weimann on the end of it. Because I think another player, like you just said there, maybe would have took one touch and then tried to shoot, but it would have just got blocked. The fact that he was able to be so composed and take as many touches as he needed to open up the space to fit the ball through. And it was literally the finest of margins. If he'd have taken one less touch, the ball would have been blocked. If he'd have taken an extra touch, the ball wouldn't have gone where it went in the goal and the keeper would have saved it. So it was so perfectly executed and he made it look so effortless. But I think that's just the quality that he possesses. And I think, again, it's another signing we've made that is just such a vast improvement on what we had at the club before. I can't think of anybody really last season who I would have maybe backed in that situation to do exactly the same thing and ensure that we got the goal. And I think the minute it fell to Weimann, there was just an extra bit of hope in the away and an extra bit of anticipation. It kind of dropped silent for a minute and you got that kind of go on, like you knew it was going to happen. And yeah, I think he really deserved that. And I think it's great for him as well now. It gets him off the mark. It gets him firing. It's another player that we can have confidence in. And another really positive performance. So grateful that we've got him and really happy for him to get that goal.
What about Jackson? No?
Yeah.
Just
start of last season, he probably would have done it.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously Jackson now on the bench, and another player that Eustace Enthusiast has talked about on YouTube is Salverson as well.
I feel so sorry for him.
Yeah, where do you think he fits in? Is it a case of is he just going to sit on the bench, or is it a case of if we're 1-0 down and we need to throw on somebody in the final moments that's him? How does he get into this side?
It's going to be tough, really tough for him. I think he's, like you said, when he joined last year, he was automatically going to be the number 9 for what we had last year. But unfortunately, his injury cut that short, and he obviously only played less. I think he played some minutes under Eustace, but one game. And I think then you look at what we've brought in through the door. You've got Morris, you've got Aiman, you've got Brereton Diaz, you've got multiple options now in those forward areas, and I think he's going to really struggle. But I think because we haven't seen anything from him, it's going to be so difficult to judge him, because from our perspective, from what we saw last year, he was a real handful. And I think he can be a handful in this division, but I think he's just going to have to bide his time and wait for what a rotation option to have. You've got Aiman, Morris, and look, we don't have to keep Morris on for 90 minutes if we don't need to. Bring on Salverson, but and bring something on different if Morris is struggling in a particular game or whatever. But I think he will be an option off the bench, maybe against lower league opposition later in the season. He might get a look in, but I hope he does, because I think he deserves it to at least have an opportunity. It'd be harsh to be kind of left on the side and then maybe let go without really having any sort of stamping down of his Derby County career.
And I think, Amelia, we want to see players obviously take their chance, don't we? And I think when we signed him, it was almost that unknown, that Haaland look that he had, and he was the Viking that was coming over. And, we want to believe in these stories, and I've seen Sonny in the chats compared Aiman to the new One Chop. Hopefully that's the case, Sonny. But I think a signing from abroad, you just want it to work maybe that little bit more. Or, maybe the academy product you probably is top of the list, closely followed by a foreign signing. So, I mean, what's your thoughts? Do you think he gets a look in, or is it a case of it would be an injury or something like a suspension that meant that he'd get a start or even some minutes for the Rams?
No, I absolutely think there's a place for him in the squad. And I think, again, we've just said it there, like what an option to have, because I do think he possesses a lot of quality. I went to Cardiff away last season and he scored a goal in that game that was exceptional. I mean, the header that he scored was incredible. And 2 minutes later, he could have done it again. And he didn't quite take the second chance. But I think what we've said there is the important thing of having the depth is we've got all these players, but also we want to keep these players fit. I don't know if Carlton Morris is going to be able to play 90 minutes Saturday, Tuesday consistently. He's going to get found out by other teams. People are going to know quickly how to deal with him and how to kind of mark him out of a game. And secondly, there's a potential there that you don't want to put too much strain on him and get him injured. So I think there definitely is a place for Salverson when you look at that. There's a time where you can perhaps bring him on 65 minutes, 60 minutes. There might be games on a Tuesday night where we need to play him from the start. And I have full faith in him if he does have to do that he's going to put in a good performance. I think what the little glimpses we've seen of him so far, I think he has got quality. And I think he's a player that's kind of gone under the radar a little bit because of all these great attacking options we've signed. But he's definitely got a place in the squad. And for me, I think we'll see more of him than maybe people expect this season.
I think one player that we need to also mention is another signing that's kind of come into a bit of scrutiny over the last couple of weeks, and I think Zeta deserves a mention yesterday. I think especially the one save that he made. I think Ed Dawes talks about it post match on Radio Derby, that saying that we'll go back to that save and how pivotal it was. The one he tipped around the post. I think shot stopping wise, he's still a formidable goalkeeper, and I think he came under a lot of criticism over the last couple of weeks for the couple of performances that he put in, and Vickers' name to be banded around to start. I do think that Zetterstrom for me is still our number one, and I think yesterday he kept us in the game to be able to then have an opportunity to go and win it. So I just wanted to kind of give him a quick mention.
Yeah, and he's part of that defence that did so well yesterday. I think the issue was obviously conceding 5 at home. You're going to get some scrutiny, aren't you? Of course you are. It doesn't matter. You know, if you stopped 5 going in before the actual 5 went in, you're always going to be under the spotlight a little bit. But I think this defence on the whole has really improved, and what we want to see now is that defensive performance, and at the top end of the pitch, the same performance. Because I think yesterday, obviously, defence was good, but at the top end of the pitch and in the middle wasn't probably as good. But look, like we said at the top of the episode, a win is a win. We're not going to remember this game for what happened at all. And it's very much on to the next set of fixtures, which on paper look a lot better. We've obviously got Preston at home on Saturday. Amelia, thoughts ahead of that one? We may potentially see another former loanee in the starting 11 for Preston. I mean, he was on the bench on Saturday, so hopefully he'll stay there on Saturday. But what's your thoughts? They've started pretty well.
Yeah, they have had a decent start. Probably much to my surprise. I don't know about anyone else, but I didn't expect them to get off to the start that they have. And yeah, obviously, it won't be ideal to maybe see Harrison Armstrong play against us. The potential is there. And to be honest, I don't see why they wouldn't play him. I don't know what their midfield options are, but I would be shocked if we didn't see him start, particularly with him knowing a lot of the players around the club as well at Derby. He might have some insider information that he's able to do a job on us, hopefully not. But yeah, I don't think it will be as easy as perhaps people think. I think in previous years, you look at Preston at home as like a winnable game. And I think with the form that they've been in recently, it probably is going to be a little bit more tough. But I do still think that we've got enough quality there and our performances are improving enough to show that we could win that game. And I actually think it will be a bit more entertaining as well than people would probably think. You look at Derby Preston as a neutral maybe and think it's not really the most thrilling contest, but I think the way that both teams are at the minute, and I think the way that we look to both play, kind of counteract each other a little bit. So it'll either be really boring and 0-0, or it'll be quite high scoring and really entertaining. But I'm really hoping to see that kind of home performance that we're talking about, where we've spoken about having an away performance where we're a little bit attritional and we invite teams in. I think it's going to be the opposite of that on Saturday. I think we're going to look to go at them from the beginning, really look to use the wings and the wing backs. The likes of Max Johnston, I think, will shine. I think he's going to be on the overlap a lot. He's going to be putting in a big shift, putting crosses into the box, and then you've got the big men up there to hopefully win the ball and get some goals for us. But I do think we'll see a different performance. I think we'll be a lot more on the high press, out of the blocks quickly, and hopefully get at them and hopefully win.
Callum, thoughts?
I think it'd be difficult. I mean, the start they made when they beat the likes of Leicester and Ipswich. We nearly got a result against them, but they've beaten a couple of decent teams at starting off. They've obviously then lost to Portsmouth and drew to Middlesbrough yesterday. Another player that we would probably see is Lewis Dobbin, who obviously we know very well and has got on the score sheet this season. So it'll be interesting to see how our defence does against him and how he fares. I think Harrison Armstrong versus Ibu and Travis will be very interesting if he does come on. I think we might win the physicality battle there. I'm just putting it out there, but I think Amelia's spot on. It's one that you look on paper, maybe at the start of the season, and you go, "Oh, you know what? Like you said, it might be slightly easier to what we've already played so far." But I think they're going to be tough. But I think what I'd like to see is us get on the ball more and have a bit more of the ball and creating more opportunities and not letting a team come into Pride Park and dictating play like we've seen from Bristol and the first game of the season, which has eluded me.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. And I think what I want to see is if the likes of Clark and Ajimang or Brereton Diaz play, I want to see them on the ball. And I felt like yesterday it was a case of they weren't really on the ball in areas that could hurt West Brom. I don't know why, but whenever I go to Pride Park, the pitch just feels massive. I always feel like players have got time. I'm not sure. It's probably because well, yeah, it is absolutely horrible playing on it for sure.
Huge.
I don't want to do that again. But yeah, I think it probably goes back to being a kid and just seeing the size of it when you're a kid. But yeah, hopefully those players get a bit more space. We can play between the lines. Amelia have made a great point there about Johnston getting down that right hand side and delivering balls in. I think Elder does it well as well. When he's on form, I think he can deliver a really good ball in as well. So yeah, let's see what happens. Simon, in the comments on YouTube, I'll give you the floor first for a score prediction. You say 3-1, Ajimang hat-trick off the bench. If that comes in, contact me and I'll give you £100. Callum, what's your...
Can I put in a
imagine if it actually happens.
£100?
Imagine if it actually happens, but he starts.
You're gonna
coming off the bench is the part that I'm quite
confident
confident with, because I think he might start. So yeah, Simon, get in contact if that happens. Get in contact with Jake. It's
Jake,
Talk, not me. Callum, what do you think? Score prediction, goal scorers.
I'll go with a. I do think it's going to be. I don't know why. I just think it will be low scoring. I don't think it'll be boring. I'm hoping it won't be for those in attendance. So I pray not. But yeah, I'm going to go 1-0 win. And yeah, why not? I'll go with Ajimang, but he'll start and score. So obviously, I won't go for the £100.
Amelia,
I'm gonna go 2-1. I think, and I think we'll already be 2-0 up by the time that Preston get their goal back, and then we'll have a very nervy last 10 minutes where we're hoping that we don't throw it away and lose 3 points. But yeah. Ajimang as well. I'd like to back him to score. I'd love to see him score, particularly at Pride Park. I think that'd be amazing for him. And Carlton Morris didn't score on Saturday, so what's he playing at? So probably him.
Yeah, what is he playing at? He's meant to score in every single game. That was in his contract, and he signed it. Yeah, I mean, I'm on the same lines. I think we'll win it. I really do think we'll win it, and probably win it 2-1. I think typical Derby County is we'll think that the new player will score at Pride Park, like a Clark or an Ajimang, and he'll actually be another new signing like a Johnston that will get the winner. So yeah, I'll go for Johnston and of course Morris to score as well. But yeah, look, things are looking up. As I said at the top of the show, I think we're starting to see John Eustace's Derby County now. Not all that glamorous yesterday, so hopefully there's an improvement on Saturday, but it's definitely exciting times at Derby at the moment. If you have enjoyed this episode, please go like us 5-star wherever you get your podcast from. We are very close on YouTube to 2,000 subscribers. So if you're watching on YouTube and you're not subscribed, please just click that button. It helps the channel, helps all of us. And if you're watching back on any platform, please comment. We read every single comment and we will respond to you as well. So all that's left for me to do on this fine Sunday evening is say it's goodbye from me.
As Jim, Vic and Eustace enthusiasts have said, another Derby win on Saturday. It's goodbye from me.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. It's goodbye from me.
See you next week.